Today we're at the Courtyard Cinema in Hereford, which is a major part of the Courtyard Art Centre complex. We're here to see Simon Nichols, who is head of film and who is going to talk us through how a digital cinema package, a DCP, gets onto the screen. It's not as easy as you might think, and it's certainly taught me a few things about modern cinema. But before we get to that, we're going to take a look around the Courtyard to give us all a bit of an idea of the look and feel of how this cinema operates. And at the time of filming, it was a busy period owing to it being the annual Boderline Film Festival. Some of you will know Simon Nichols from previous videos, most notably a tour of his simply brilliant home cinema. Simon has been a film enthusiast for just about his entire life, and therefore no one better to be responsible for film and projection in a cinema today. He started with Super 8, but progressed to 35mm, and the Courtyard seems sure to be making use of his 35mm expertise once again, now that real film is fashionable again and seeing a resurgence in popularity. Also joining us today and seen here with Simon is Steve Rowley, who has had a full life in all things cinema and is surely one of our most experienced cinema engineers and still in demand for his expertise today.
The lighting board, the sound desk and the software that runs the cinema all quietly compacted together. One of the things I'm most proud of here is we have actually got motorized masking, which we didn't have when I first came, but we can now adjust it. It's got 3 settings, so occasionally I'll have to alter it if we're showing 166, but generally I set it up so the third stop is 137. So we've got scope, standard widescreen 185, and then 166 or 137. And I think that's important because it tells the audience that you understand what you're doing, that you respecting the filmmaker's vision, and whilst we've got it, we'll use it.
I usually set up a new setup, then I put the test on and I set the masking to the lines on the test film and then cut the aperture plates to the masking.
So if we wanted to show Academy,
and you see that's absolutely fantastic. Yeah.
That's a rarity these days.
It is.
and then for scope, of course, we can go what I like to do is bring the masking open on the certificate. Just gives a little bit more of an impact when the audience is sat there.
Yes.
Suddenly the screen opens up.
We always showed the certificate on the tabs.
Yeah, and usually there was 2 or 3 layers of tabs, I remember.
Oh yeah.
So you'd have your
festoon. You'd do the house tabs, which were festoon, and then do the screen tabs, which were side-to-side curtains, and do the 2 at the same time. It gave a brilliant effect, especially on CinemaScope.
Well, my aim here is to retain some of that traditional cinema showmanship as much as we can.
That's it.
And just try and create the right ambience for the audience when they're coming and sitting there. And that includes bringing the lights down nice and slowly, the right house music.
This is a smaller auditorium at the Courtyard, but the larger auditorium doubles as a theatre and more often than not is in operation as a theatre. That was the case during this visit, but from what I've seen it looks beautiful. This smaller auditorium has about 120 seats and it's likely we'll be holding a Film is Fabulous event here in the near future. While here, I thought I'd get this close-up shot of the screen showing the perforated nature of cinema screens to enable the speakers to be out of sight behind. It will be a good venue for a Film is Fabulous, not surprising really, as it's also a good venue for the Boderline Film Festival.
So during the festival, this is a list of all the films that we've got screening over a couple of weeks. So it's quite an intense task making sure not only the films come in on time, but also the relevant key is available for it. Some of them, to complicate it further, don't have keys. So what I have to do, I'm sure there's a more digital way of doing this, but it's the way I've always done it. List all the films, the start date and the end date. The end date's quite important because we only have a limited amount of storage on the system, and these films probably average out at about 150 gigabytes per film. So it's important that we know when a film's finished so we can delete it from the file and get the next one on. So it is a bit of a relentless task just getting all these in.
And this is an annual thing, this film festival, isn't it?
Yeah. It's been running now for 2003, so I've done every single one. Different issues today than they were back in the day, because back in the day we didn't have to grapple with digital storage, but we did have to grapple with spools, and there's only ever a certain amount of spools that you've got available. So again, what we would have to do is wait for a film to finish, pack it off, release the spool, put the next one on.
So this desk here would have got a lot of work at the time.
It was, yeah, a lot of work, and there would be films stacking up all over the place. So it has moved on. It's amazing the changes that have happened over the last 20 odd years. But having said that, although digital does have its efficiencies, it has its own problems as well. So it's just adapting, I think, as we go.
There's a lot of us are confused about how a DCP actually gets on the screen. How do they come to you in the first place?
Well, over the years it's evolved slightly, but in the early days of digital cinema, we used to get a delivery every week of a hard drive. So the hard drives themselves were designed for cinema. They're pretty robust, and effectively we plug them into either the projector, or in the case I've got here, a separate holding system. Very much as you might plug a hard drive into your computer. It then brings up the file which we have to copy from the hard drive to the holding system, and then from the holding system to the projector. The encryption system will not allow you to stream it. It has to be physically copied to the projector. And once it's on the projector, the distributor will send me what we call a key, which has the information in it that allows the projector to unlock the content and play it within a specific time frame. So that's the way that distributors protect their content, because once the key date is finished, even if I still hold that content on the system, it will not play without that specific key.
But you have to download some of them now, don't you? Presumably that's done across the web. That's what we all think.
We don't use the web. It's a specialist system where the distributors release the film to a particular portal. That then transfers itself to our holding system here. And as I guess internet speeds and the flexibility of systems have evolved, the nice thing now is that I don't necessarily need to even do anything as far as getting the content onto our holding system. It's all done behind the scenes automatically. So I could come in the morning and find, after I've refreshed the system, that another piece of content has turned up here on the system automatically. This little indication tells me how much computer space I've got left. I think it's something just short of 30 terabytes altogether. Bearing in mind that each one of these films is probably somewhere in the region of, well, there we are, All of Us Strangers is showing as 180 gigabytes. So they're big files.
Do many films still come in by disc, or is that a rarity now?
Some distributors still use hard drives, so I won't say it's a rarity. And sometimes when you're looking to get hold of a film, sometimes they turn up late, or you've had to chase them and the content hasn't arrived. There is something quite reassuring about receiving a black box with a hard drive that you can physically hold and pop into the system and copy it across. So perhaps going back to the days when people who dealt with 35mm film, the film would turn up in a red box and you'd get it quickly onto the bench and make it up. In a similar way here with a hard drive, you plug it into the system, and instead of making it up, you copy it across to the library system.
And are there occasions where things are getting a bit close to the wire, where you've got to be on top of your game, otherwise you could get to a situation where a film isn't ready? Does that happen?
It does. It can happen. If you're not on your game and you're not organised. I think I showed you earlier the number of films we have coming in and out the building during the festival. There's a lot to manage, and some of them will play for a few days, some of them might play for a week. But one of my jobs is to keep on track of that by checking at least a couple of days before the film is due to screen that you have the hard drive or the physical copy of the film on the system. And does it need a key? Not all films do need a key, some come without a key. Most of the mainstream films do need a key, and sometimes it's a case of chasing one or both to make sure it's there. And one of the other issues is, if you're not careful, you can have the film in the building, it's on the holding system, but unless it's then been transferred across to the projector, it's not going to play. And for anybody who's ever tried to transfer files from their own computer, 180 gigabytes, 200 gigabytes, it's quite a challenge to get it across quickly. Once we've got the content onto our system here, before it can be played by the projector, we need to set up a playlist, which basically tells either the technician or the projector the order in which the content needs to be played. Now, there is a little bit of automation involved with this, but on this particular system, the software will put in what's called placeholders. So for example, you'll see a show start placeholder that will tell the projector to power up, turn the light on, switch it to digital sound. Once it's done that, it will look for any of our advertising that we've been sent. If there is advertising, it will actually populate automatically depending on what we're obliged to play. After that, I can put whatever trailers I think appropriate according to the rating of the main film, so those would slot in there. Quite often there's what's called a gold spot advertisement, which is the final advertising after the trailers, just before the rating certificate of the film. Advertisers will pay a premium for that, so it's really important that we get that in the right place. And then we have what's called a feature start placeholder. Depending on whether the film is either flat ratio, which is the standard widescreen 1:8:5:1, or scope, it will tell the projector lens to do its adjustments. Equally, it's really important that those cues are correct, and if you look, for example, at this piece of content here, which is the main feature for the colour purple, the new release of that film, that gives us a lot of information about the film itself. So you can see it says FTR, which indicates it is a feature piece of content. It's also color coded to that effect, so visually you can see very easily. More importantly, the F after that tells me that it's in flat ratio. So I need to tell the projector not to fiddle around with the lens. And it's in English, EN, which is great, and it's XX means that there are no subtitles involved with it. Or as in the festival, I'll just see if I can find an example here. We have a lot of foreign language films. There's one, for example, here, Amagloria. You can see the FR reflects the fact that it's in French language, EN reflects that it's English subtitles. this one here, Anatomy of a Fall. Again, it's in French. It's also got English subtitles, and it's got open captions. That indicates that there are also further additional subtitling that help people with hearing impairments. So it might say gun going off in the background, or it might describe the piece of music. It's quite a bit of a minefield. The nice thing is, this system has been designed from the bottom up. It's been in place probably since about 2007 when digital cinema started. So it's been developed over the years. It sticks to that sort of format. As a projectionist, technician, head of film, it's really important that for me to understand what this all means, and you relying on distributors also making it clear as to what versions of films that are available.
It's not as easy as any of us sitting in the audience might think.
Quite often it's said to me, as a digital projectionist, you just press play. Yes. That is true. It's getting to the point when you can press play. That's where all the skill and the difficulty is going to rise. So.
Right, so we've gone through everything, I think, Simon, apart from how does it get from here over to the digital video projector?
Good question. So, once the playlist has been made up on the system here, what I can do is use this screen, which is a scheduler. It shows every particular screening over a period of time. So you can see here, just skipping through, we've got various playlists already transferred to the projector. So what I might do is go into this little screen here, and I can drag, let's say, Boy and the Heron is playing in our screen 2 at 11 o'clock on Saturday. I can drag that across there, line it up, there we go, tell it it's a 2D screening, apply that, and then if I click into it, it'll tell me all the errors. So because we're not screening it on Saturday, it's saying you haven't got the national advertisements available. But if I go into the playlist, it's telling me, there you go, that's all the content that it's going to transfer across. And once I execute that, it will then transfer automatically everything it needs to the projector. And then when it goes over to the projector, I can go into our screen 1, have a look at the playlists, and it will tell me there a list of all the playlists that are available. So our next screening is Scala.
Is that part of the festival?
That is part of the festival, and you can see that the technician has 2 playlists there. We screened it yesterday at 8 o'clock, and the screening that's following today is at 3 o'clock. We can quickly just have a look. Because it's festival, we do not have any advertising for it. We screen in the festival without advertising, but you can see that this particular film has got the rating certificate. It's an 18, and it's in flat ratio, it's in English, there's no subtitles, it's got a green key, so that means it's good to go.
And there's a hard drive or something, an SSD drive in the video projector.
There is a hard drive in the projector. The one that we use here is quite a recent barcode. So this is the lamp area of the projector. It's a laser projector. So I've been very pleased with the light from it actually. Having been brought up on Xenon projection, it gives, I think, a very nice filmic light. The projector gets its content not from a Blu-ray, but from the hard drive, which is hidden in the side of the projector here. This bit here is called a server. We use a Dolby server here. It used to be Do-Re-Mi, but it's now Dolby. And each of these little, you can see the little blue lights in there? There's a little 2.5-inch hard drive. They're 2 terabytes each. And the reason there's 3 is they run on what's called a RAID system. So effectively the data is copied identically to the 3 drives, so if there is an issue with one of the drives, the projector will seamlessly pick up what it needs from the other one. Once a film is on the screen, very rarely do we have it. I've never experienced any issue with it. There's no skipping or anything like that. So. And you can see integrated into this, which is effectively the sound rack to a certain degree. I still keep the CP650, which we use for the 35mm projection. This then feeds into the AP25 audio processor. The reason I've chosen this is it does have quite a lot of inputs which are really useful, and whether we're showing satellite broadcasting, digital cinema, 35mm, this processor handles them all, and it's all potentially automatically driven by the keys that are in the playlist that I showed you earlier. So as soon as the playlist starts, there are cues that will tell the projector to power up and put the lamp on, tell the sound processor to switch to digital sound at an appropriate volume, and then once the film starts, the cues in the playlist will tell the projector to alter the picture ratio according to scope or flat, and tweak the volume up to the correct level for the film. We use these amplifiers. We used to have 3, we've now got 2. They're 4 channels, so we're a little bit over-spec'd, but we have potentially got the facility to go 7.1. But in the smaller space, I'm not sure that the benefit will be huge, particularly for the sort of films we play. We're not a big blockbuster cinema.
Yeah.
So.
We have also still got film projection, of course, Simon.
Yeah, we have, and I think it's really important for a venue like us to still be able to introduce people who maybe never had the opportunity to see film and understand film. We screened Aliens last year, we screened Godzilla just after Christmas, and I hope that adds to the experience the customers can have when they come here, where we still are able to show old school 35mm together with the modern digital.
Well, there we are, another real cinema still able to screen movies with a bit of dedication and showmanship. If you're ever in the Hereford area and you're a film enthusiast, you'll know where to head for. Until the next video, bye bye for now.